All right, let me make it simpler this time round.
Okay.
You know, one or two people said there's no such thing as a stupid question. And I think that let me put that to rest right now. Of course, there is such a thing as a stupid question. Let me give you an example of what I would regard as a stupid question. If somebody said, let me make it simpler this time round. If somebody said to a pregnant lady that the child that you're carrying inside you happens to be a male, I know that because you've told me. Now, what was it like for you to have an affair with that male child that's inside your stomach as we speak? That is a question. But it is an absurd question. It is a stupid question. It is a nonsensical question. And it is the kind of question you or I would never ask. Probably the insane would ask that question. And if somebody describes it as stupid, they're quite right. For example, if somebody sees a lion somewhere and looks at the lion, touches the mane, and knows it's a male lion, a big lion, a very, very powerful lion, and then says, my goodness me, how does it feel to be a cat, a little pussy cat? That is a ridiculous question. And of course, you would never put that, and neither would most sensible people. So there are such things as stupid questions, and there are such things as stupid answers too. And but that's something I think we need to clarify. You know, nobody has a monopoly of wisdom. People do make mistakes. People do ask silly questions, and people do give silly answers. That's the reality of life.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the lessons that all of this brought up in terms of lessons now. What are lessons to learn from this encounter?
I've said what I have to say about that. Like I said, I've said what I have to say. I really don't want to say anything more. You know, the lessons that have been learned are self-evident. And anybody that wants to know can go back to the full interview I gave on, I believe it was when I was in Akwa Ibom, when I spoke about this. But of course, what I will say is this, that nobody's above being, you know, making mistakes. And like I said, if out of 100, you know, you make a mistake once or twice, perhaps 2 or 3 times, that means you're human. Nobody is above making that. The lesson that one has to learn from that is that you must be on your guard at all times, no matter how irritable you are, no matter how tired you are, and no matter how insulted you feel. You still have to maintain your cool, especially if you claim to be a leader or somebody that molds public opinion in any way. That's what I've personally learned from it. And I'm sure the young man involved also has learned 1 or 2 lessons about what to say and what not to say. So, you know, that's it. And of course, the most important lesson is it is important when you've got it wrong to say you're sorry. That is a very, very gratifying thing. And it's a strength. It takes courage to do that. And I did that. And of course, at any point in time where I make a mistake, I'll be the first to say, look, I got it wrong here. It wasn't my best day. And I'm sorry. I'm very proud of the fact that I did that. And if I were to make a mistake again, which I hope I won't, at least in this context, I would say sorry all over again.
Okay. I would like to ask, how do you always take all the criticisms that come your way on social media? Because I know you're very strong on social media, and I know that people do take you on, and so how do you always...
No, look, Shay, you've been in this game for many, many decades. You and I know this, you know, and for the younger ones, let me say this. My own position is that if you are in a position of authority or power, or if you claim to be a leader or an influence molder, and if you are ready to dish out things against those you feel have not got it right, particularly if you're against the government or you're against any individual, living or dead, you feel you can say anything about them within the framework of the law, you know, you should be able to take as well. You can't give punches and not be able to receive punches. I learned a long time ago, in that respect, I'm very much like President Obasanjo. You can abuse me from morning to night. It means nothing to me. And, you know, I never used to be like that. I used to be so sensitive about every little thing. But for me, you don't respond to everything. A lot of the time, I don't even respond. I used to when I was much younger. Oh, he said this, I must, but I don't. And I tend not to attack anybody unless they've attacked me first. I tend not to be too hard. I'm a counterpuncher, essentially. I'm a counterpuncher. And sometimes it's not even worth a counterpunch. There are some people, for example, that take pleasure in insulting other people's family members. I have never done that, and I will never do that. You insult somebody's mother, somebody's father, somebody's child because you disagree with them politically or you don't like them. I think that is despicable. And when people do that to me, because they do it a lot, I don't respond. I leave them to God and I move on and I focus on the issues. So I've taken a lot of punches over the years, but the greatest punches I've taken is not now. The greatest punches, or not today, the greatest punches I took, and this is why I really learned this art to be able to take blows, was when I was spokesman to President Obasanjo. And you remember that time very well, for 3 years. Yeah. It was a very difficult time. And there I was, relatively young, having to defend a very good man who had a great record in public office, but who was misunderstood and misrepresented. And every day, you know, I got hit from left, right, and center by all of President Obasanjo's enemies, together with my enemies, together with my father's enemies. They were all on my neck every day. So I developed a very thick skin at that time. And, you know, like I said, you've got to be able to take a punch. You've got to be able to take the heat if you want to stay in the kitchen. If you don't want it, if you can't tolerate it, if you can't accept it, then you just get out of the kitchen and stop getting involved. And certainly you don't take people on publicly on issues if you know you can't take as good as you give. So that's just the way I'm configured now. Now it's amazing, you know, really. What gets me the most, let me tell you, is to be ignored. You know, it really does sound strange. If I'd rather you insult me, I say, oh, good, he noticed, it hurt. You know, I gave a blow and it hurt. The worst thing you can do to somebody, and you know this, a writer or a commentator or a politician, is say, oh God, I'm just not going to respond to that person. And I do that a lot now to others that attack me. You know, sometimes I don't, but often I do, because I find that that is far more painful than to be attacked directly. Sometimes I actually enjoy being attacked because that means that it's evidence of the fact that I've touched a nerve. But what I try to do, Shay, is this. In all my commentaries, in all my communications, I try my best to be factual. And I do my research before I say anything or before I write anything. That is very, very important. And I'd say 9 times out of 10, anything I've said, I'm in a position to defend with facts and figures. And I also know the history of this country. And usually I know the history of anybody I'm talking about or that I'm talking to. So that's it. So we managed to cope. We thank God.